One of my favorite things about card game adaptations of video games is seeing all of the clever ways the designers incorporate the mechanics into a new medium. And this is something that Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon reminds me of a lot. Everything in the original games, from enemies to landmarks, has been reimagined to work in an entirely different context. Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon is an interesting hybrid of desktop dungeons and Crypt of the Necrodancer. Your goal is to keep the board from filling up as monsters and bricks slowly drop from the top of the screen. Moving with the grid progresses time like lots of grid-based roguelikes out there, but standing still won't keep you safe, as turns continue happening even if you don't move for too long. This invites faster thinking and is more in line with the action you'd see in the other games. Seeing familiar locales like the plains and Treasure Knight's ship reimagined for a different genre is really entrancing. The gold armor enemies in Pocket Dungeon were especially great. Just like their original versions in the mainline titles, they'll block whatever direction you attack from, so you'll have to pivot around them to finish dealing damage. And this effortless translation from platformer mechanics to puzzle ones is reinforced everywhere in this game. Another thing that's translated well is how good this game looks. The other adventures were lookers for sure, but Pocket Dungeon has some of the best pixel art I've ever seen, bar none. Everything is chunky, cutesy, and detailed. There is no square inch of this thing that isn't littered with color and beautiful looking. If Treasure Trove had the romanticized visuals of the NES, Pocket Dungeon surely does the same thing for the Game Boy Advance. To bring it back to the gameplay itself, let me just say, a recurring trend I see amongst the best games out there is having mechanics that are simple yet provoke interesting decisions from the player. And this is something that Yacht Club offers a lot of here. Yet I'm struggling to envision this as a game with a really long consistent life. I wouldn't call it shallow or not engaging, but it definitely didn't get under my skin as much as I thought it would. There's a sophistication in how you approach enemy types and align monsters before fighting them, but how you tackle these encounters doesn't change much from the beginning of a run to its end. The items you accumulate are useful, but they don't force you outside of your comfort zone and encourage new methods of clearing each stage. Add to that the fact that the roguelike elements are practically non-existent, and there is not much long-term progression outside of just your skill in the pool of items you unlock from the shop in the main town. And even then, you'll have bought everything there is to get sooner rather than later. A thing that I really like about roguelikes is that when you die, you still feel very excited to see everything that you've unlocked after your run, but Pocket Dungeon doesn't really offer that outside of its characters, which, granted, isn't a small achievement by any means, but it's hard not to feel like there's a lot less meat on the bones here when stacked up against other roguelikes. The characters and their differences truly are a standout though, with my personal favorite being Spectre Knight, who actively takes damage from health potions and has to avoid them as he darts around the stage, opting instead to finish off enemies for help, saving a weakened chain of foes for HP in the middle of a tough battle to get a second wind was really fun. And speaking of second winds, this game will probably get a handful on account of the planned DLC roadmap that's on the horizon, and I hope that one of those DLCs broadens the longevity of this title with some new mechanic, because it is a very neat little title. It's not only a puzzle adaptation of what's come before, but a loving transformation of these characters into a whole new space, and it's an exciting precedent for an intellectual property that's main recurring theme is quality. It won't stack hundreds of hours on my Steam library like Isaac or Honeypop, but it's still very much worthy of your purchase. Here's a video I did on another indie title. I review indie games on here all the time, so if you enjoyed what you saw today, please do stick around, subscribe to the channel, and like the video. It's how smaller channels like this one actually get a foothold in the YouTube algorithm. Thanks so much, and have a wonderful night. Bye-bye.